as decorated as we've seen for sure. Braves, 5 back of the Mets entering tonight in Philadelphia. Zach Wheeler hasn't given up a first-inning home run since May 29th, 2021. Check that. Travis d'Arnaud with his 11th and it's 1-0 Atlanta. Matt Olson next to bat, and this is the 7th time that the Braves have gone back-to-back this year, tied for the second most in Big League Baseball. That, too, is his 11th home run. Early 2-0 lead for Atlanta. We move ahead now deep in the game, bottom 7. Phillies trailing 3-2. Kyle Schwarber, fill thine horn with oil, and go. Off Dylan Lee. It's his 22nd of the season. Game tied at 3. Top 8, still 3-3. Olsen unties it. His second of the game puts the Braves back in front, 4-3. Steve, as a Mets fan, which team do you dislike the most in this game?
Bush.
There we go. I knew that answer. Top 9, still 4-3. Adam Duvall down the left field line. Insurance runs are gold. They get one to make it 5-3. You see Ron Washington told Orlando Arcia, stop. Arcia knew better, or at least he got lucky. However it worked out. It worked out for Atlanta. They win 5-3. Second and third best records in baseball. Astros visiting the Mets, 7th straight game against New York teams. Carlos Carrasco struggled his last time out against the Astros. Gave up 5. 3 home runs in 2 1/3, and the hits just keep on coming. Kyle Tucker, that is a 3-run shot in the top of the first. His 15th. Carrasco's allowed 4 homers in the first inning. Consecutive starts, 4 runs, I should say, in the first inning of consecutive starts for the first time in his career. Framber Valdez. Nasty strikeout pitch there to J.D. Davis. After a walk, bases loaded, Mark Canha. And that's a ground ball to Bregman. Valdez, 8 scoreless innings. Top of the 5th. This dude, Yordan Alvarez. Power the other way. He's got 23. 7-0. Yuli Gurriel. That's his 6th of the season. And that's a 9-1 win for the Houston Astros. Buck saw enough at that point. That's your final. Deshaun Watson, of course, did not play last year for Houston. According to ESPN's Dan Graziano, the NFL will push for a suspension of at least this season as well for the now Cleveland quarterback, whose hearing with the NFL, the Players Association, and jointly appointed disciplinary officer Sue L. Robinson continues. 2 grand juries in Houston did not press criminal charges after the more than 20 civil cases were filed against Watson alleging sexual assault and inappropriate behavior. All but 4 have settled. Cleveland paid a massive amount in both money and draft picks to get Watson, whose status remains unclear. Meanwhile, Baker Mayfield, who they drafted number 1 4 years ago, remains on the roster, but it's clear from Baker's own mouth that he doesn't believe he's ever going to wear that Cleveland Browns uniform ever again.
I think it's been pretty obvious the mutual decision on both sides is to move on. You know, I'm thankful for my 4 years in Cleveland. There's a lot of ups and downs and a ton of learning experiences that I'll forever keep with me. I think I got frustrated with it not happening before, like mini camp and all those things. But that's the stuff that's out of my control, and so let those things happen and fall into place. And so right now I'm just controlling what I can and enjoying this.
But I think a lot of people think if they didn't have a quarterback for the next year, would there be any chance of reconciliation there?
No, I think for that to happen, there would have to be some reaching out. But we're ready to move on, I think, on both sides.
Jeff Darlington, kind enough to interrupt his vacation to spend a little time with us, which we appreciate. And this situation is clearly pretty murky from the Browns' perspective because, look, there's no way Watson avoids some sort of punishment, so you can't presume you will have him for the short term. And Baker Mayfield just made it pretty clear, you're not going to have me anymore. So where does that leave the trade situation, and where does it leave the Browns quarterback situation in the early season?
Well, first of all, you're exactly right. The Deshaun Watson disciplinary situation is evolving, and we know there's going to be at least some form of discipline just based on what the NFL has already recommended. So that means that if the Browns really plan to have Baker Mayfield on the roster week 1, which, by the way, he won't be, that means they'll have 2 quarterbacks in Deshaun Watson and Baker Mayfield inactive week 1. It's not going to happen. So, and that's what I talk to people all around the league, and that's exactly what they tell me. That there's no reason for any team to sit here and say, we're going to take on the $18.8 million for Baker Mayfield this coming season. We just have to wait it out until the Browns decide they're finally going to eat some of that cost, and then Baker Mayfield will get moved. But until that happens, it's a stalemate right now.
But what's interesting to me, Jeff, is whatever people may think about Baker Mayfield, he has proven he can be a starting level quarterback in the NFL and would represent for some teams an upgrade. So even if you don't want to pay full cost, how do you not make a move if he's going to improve your quarterbacking situation, given the importance of that position in this league?
Well, teams are willing to make the move. The Carolina Panthers have had conversations, so too have the Seattle Seahawks. And those are 2 teams, though, that are still saying, we're not going to pay the whole 18.8. And what the Browns are saying is, okay, maybe we'll take a little bit off. But, you see the NBA deals that we see with John Wall, for instance, where a team takes on a little bit more of a chunk. And that's what's going to happen in this situation here. And by the way, if the Browns do come down enough and are willing to eat more of that cost, you will see more teams getting involved. It's not just the teams that are ultimately desperate that covet Baker Mayfield. I talked to plenty of coaches in the NFL who believe that he is indeed a starting caliber quarterback, or at the very least one who can compete for that job.
Oh, look, we know the importance of the quarterback, but in the National Football League this offseason, it is obvious that wide receiver is massively important as well. And some other news, Adam Schefter reporting that Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin is signing a 3-year extension worth up to $71 million in new money. He played in all 17 games last year. The Ohio State product, 26 years old, had his second consecutive 1,000-yard season, and given the quarterbacking challenges that Washington had, pretty fine season out of McLaurin. His contract, the latest in a wide receiver market that has absolutely exploded this offseason. Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, each signed deals worth, on paper, at least $100 million. Stephon Diggs signed for $96. Cooper Kupp got a 3-year extension worth $80 million. So, Jeff, let me welcome you back in here and ask about the Deebo Samuel situation, because last year he wasn't just a wide receiver. As we know, he was, to his liking, way too much of a running back. But is there any path back for those 2 sides to reconcile, or is that ship sailed?
So the 49ers still believe they can reconcile this situation, but that's like talking to 2 people in an argument and not asking both of them, because Deebo Samuel still has his feet in the ground on this thing. Yes, he did go to the mandatory minicamp to escape the potential fines that he would have faced, but this was still about more than money. It's not just about the 49ers throwing a massive contract at him, and that's the end. He wants to feel respect for the organization that he didn't feel on the outset of the conversations that he had with them. I do believe that potentially there's room for reconciliation, as there is in any situation like this, but it's not that simple. To me, I still think this has plenty of cleaning up to do before we get to the point where Deebo is comfortable being a member of the 49ers. I know that's a fascinating storyline that we're going to continue to follow, and one that I'll be watching very closely, whether Deebo does in fact report to camp or not.
Even on vacation. You fish, I'm trying to